a unique philosophy production.
Here are your hosts. He thinks some critic at The Guardian is a real asshole. Lee Bridges. He likes to dive deep in the neon slime. Me, Mark Rose. He secretly thinks Michael Bay is the best director on the planet. Doug Wall. He dances in the shower to Sykes' Goodbye Horses with his unit tucked. Here is Garrick Lane. Now sit back and relax and listen to the super sounds of the 70s. This is the Midnight Drive-In.
Into black. The big city.
Oh, you are fucking this up.
Open his eyes for the neon slime.
You had one job, Garrick.
Just listen to the first few.
Buddy, what was it? Fade into black. Wait, hold on. I got it.
Come on, Rain Man.
I should have written this down. I should have been ready. The streets come alive! Big city monster, just open his eyes.
Big city monster.
Fade into black!
Are you 8? It's like 10 seconds later. Just fucking forget it. Just forget it. I'm sorry.
Neon slime! Fade into black! Streets come alive! Come alive! Godly. All right, well, we'll put it in that post.
There we go.
Holy God.
Welcome to the Midnight Drive.
You know there's a pin right next to you.
The neon slime. It's over.
To rip your throat out to sing that song.
Okay, thanks for listening. I'm going to do the whole thing like Lenny today. Welcome to the Midnight Drive-In, folks. Episode number 9. How we doing this week?
Fine.
Better than you sound,
Yeah.
for sure.
Alright, well, great. Cool, I'm done. You guys can take it.
All right. Good show, guys.
Same time next
Yeah,
week.
exactly.
Sorry, he's just laughing about Vice Squad, the movie we just watched and we'll talk about tonight.
The neon slime.
Is there such a thing as adult Ritalin?
Yes, and I did not take mine today.
Apparently not.
Fade into black. The streets come alive. The green slime.
It's not even the right name. Oh my gosh.
So far, this podcast has been an inside joke.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Woo!
Right. Welcome to the Midnight Drive-In.
Mark, take it away.
Yeah.
All right. How's everyone doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. How
Good,
about
all right.
I'm doing
Doug?
I'm doing okay.
You over there, Garrick? You all right?
I'm good. I'm good. Yep.
Watch any good movies this week?
Oh, give me a second.
All right.
Yeah, hey, I didn't get to go to Old Man Gun with you. How was it?
Oh, you want me to follow that up?
Sooner or later, we got to start this thing. Maybe we can do it after the neon slime.
Old Man with a Gun.
Yes.
We're talking Robert Redford's final movie is what he's saying anyway.
Fade into black. Right?
That's what he says anyway.
Right.
He claims this is his last movie. And at his age, how many more can he possibly make? But, Old Man with a Gun, good movie.
Good movie?
It was really, yeah, I mean, it was a good swan song for Redford. I mean, I won't give away too much, but the final shot of the movie is like you're saying goodbye to Redford.
Right.
So it was...
Is Sissy Spacek in it?
She is.
She is? Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, she's very good. Also, some other old-timer actors that you'll probably recognize. Danny Glover's one of them.
Nice.
And some others that you probably don't know the name of. You probably do, Lee, but
I don't know what the fuck that means. No, I'm just kidding.
as many movies as you watch, you know. But yeah, the music is fantastic in it. That uses this a lot of smooth jazz throughout it. You know, it's a great use of music, and it's based on true stories of this guy who broke out of many institutions, including San Quentin Prison, and he just likes robbing banks. So he's been doing it all his life since he was a teenager or younger than that, but later on they talk about how all the different places that he'd broken out of. He gives Sissy Spacek this list of all these places. It's just it's giving away too much. It's
is Sissy Spacek a love interest of?
You could call her that, yeah. It's kind of like if they were both much younger, this would have been a great love story, you know. But when they meet each other, they're both, yeah.
I watched Badlands.
Oh, yeah. Great movie.
Terrence Malick with Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek.
Yeah, based on the Starkweather murders, yeah.
Yep. That's
a really good movie.
That's an excellent movie.
Yeah. Do you remember, like, in the 80s where they used to show, like, on a Saturday they would have a movie and it would always be, like, sponsored by, like, some aluminum siding company?
Yeah.
And it was always some wildly inappropriate movie like The Road Warrior or Badlands. And they would show you, like, oh, this aluminum siding is great. Now back to this violent-ass movie on 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just like...
Alcoa presents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. So it's good. It's worth it. Go see it.
Yeah, it's one of those that's not going to be in all the theaters. It'll probably only be on in the big city, you know. So most people will probably have to catch it when it gets to DVD. But it's well worth
or video on
watching.
Demand.
Yeah, it's well worth watching it just to hear this incredible story, if nothing else. But Redford's awesome, and it's Sissy Spacek's great. It's just a very well done movie.
Yeah, it looks good.
I was in Asheville. Excuse me, I'm still Wings Hauser here.
The neon slime.
Neon slime. I was in Asheville today working, and I pulled in the little small town. What's that cool
Fine
theater?
Arts Theater.
The Fine Arts Theater is playing it.
Yeah, I was just
and I
up
got to
there
go back
yesterday.
up there Wednesday, and I have to work till 6, so I might conveniently catch it at 7.
Yeah.
And it's
Check
also
it out.
playing at the Carolina downtown Hickory this week.
It's actually playing there. It's not just
after the theater was so full during the foot candle thing that
Really?
they decided to run it for the.
Oh,
for a
in
week.
that case, yeah.
But I think it's only showing at like 5 p.m. So you have to catch it late matinee.
We'll catch it right after work, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I always love Robert Redford.
Oh, yeah.
You ever hear that story about Robert Redford?
No.
That he, on every one of his sets, no matter what, he always lifts one thing for the crew.
Right.
So, like, before he leaves the set, he finds something to pick up and help move, or
He helps him strike the set.
the set. He does something.
Yeah.
He does it on every one of his movie sets. He's always done it.
I've heard that about Chatty and Fat, too.
Oh,
That
yeah?
He helps out people. He's like, they make me look good, so I'll help them out. And, it just makes people more happy that, the main guy in the movie's not being an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's great. Well, the movies that I watch kind of tie into our film. So you want to... What'd you see this week? You see anything
I
else?
saw 2 new movies and 1 older movie that I've never seen before. I'll start with the
Jesus,
older
you
one.
don't have a wife or kids, do you?
No.
So, yeah.
No, I'm what you call happy. Anyway,
Fade into black.
exactly. I watched a movie called The Taking of Beverly Hills from 1991, and it was
Oh yes,
yeah,
You sent
exactly.
me
It
the
was
trailer.
when I was a kid. I loved this show called Wise Guy with Ken Wall.
Yeah, Ken Wall.
Exactly. This was supposed to be his big action movie.
Okay.
And it was actually shot in 1989, like the year after Die Hard. It was going to be the first Die Hard ripoff.
Yeah.
And then they ended up it got basically the producers were fought for 2 years. So in 1991, it was getting ready to be released, and then Orion Pictures just stopped existing. And it was eventually just sold to MGM and got a real limited release, and nothing ever came of it. But it's an okay movie. If you like stuff like The Last Boy Scout and stuff, early 90s action movies, you'll enjoy it. It has probably the most Molotov cocktails I've ever seen in a movie. Because Ken Wall's a quarterback, and what it is like the certain members of the police force and certain members of like private security companies are faking a chemical spill in Beverly Hills, and they evacuate the entire town, and they know they have like 2 hours before the EPA gets there, and so in 2 hours they're going to rob the entire town. And Ken Wall was a football player who just happened to be in the bath when all this was going on, so he didn't get evacuated. And him and this cop played by Matt Fewer, who most people remember as Max Headroom. If you remember the 80s, you know.
Oh yeah,
Coca-Cola's Max
Just
Headroom.
it's a goofy Die Hard ripoff. And Robert Davi plays the bad guy. Like, it had a pretty good cast, you know, but
Robert Davi always played a great drug dealer. Yeah.
It's not great, but it's entertaining.
I'd never heard of it.
I remember seeing commercials for it when I was a kid because I like Wise Guy. I always want to see it, but I never saw it on VHS. Never saw it on television. I don't think it ever got really widely released.
So he's a quarterback. Does that mean he passes Molotov cocktails?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like I said, more explosions than should be in a movie. Like I told,
the trailer had 16.
It's an obscene amount of explosions. Like and just one of the bad guys commandeers one of those SWAT team tanks with the battering ram on it, and is just driving through houses. They actually shot it in Mexico City and built an entire fake Beverly Hills with just like two side facades.
Yeah, that way they can drive.
Exactly. And like I said, but very inventively made movie. Not great, but I bought it very cheaply on Blu-ray. So.
Title of that film again?
The Taking of Beverly Hills.
Taking of Beverly Hills.
And that, like I said, if you like early 90s action movies, you'll enjoy it. And after that, I finally saw The Incredibles 2. And I did not like it.
You did not like it?
It's the first movie, the opposite. The first movie, it's a rich bad guy who thinks everybody should have superpowers. And this one, it's a rich bad guy who thinks no one should have superpowers.
You're exactly right.
It's the opposite of the first movie.
Remember our first podcast about me arguing about those two cuss words?
I do.
Do you think that they were really relevant?
No, they weren't.
Exactly.
No.
Thank you.
I know.
It's completely out of nowhere.
It's
almost
out of nowhere.
like they did it just to be hip.
That's true. And I think Brad Bird, he thinks his movies are different than other anime movies. He doesn't want to make necessarily just anime movies for kids, But I will admit, the chase scene where Elastigirl's on the motorcycle chases down the runway, that was amazing.
It's amazing.
That's some of the best animation I've ever seen.
Oh, it looks great.
But the movie itself, I just didn't love it. The first one I loved so much. I think the first one's one of the best superhero movies ever. It's basically, it's inventive, it's funny. It's adults and kids can pick up on jokes.
No, what did you think? I did like how mom was out making the money and dad was home being miserable. Because I know I have kids, so obviously some of that comedy was good. But I liked how they did the baby. Did you like that part?
The only thing I didn't like was the main plot.
The main plot.
Actually, the side plot with Jack I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah,
all that stuff, and the stuff with him having to learn the new type of math. What do you call it?
That newfangled math?
It's like...
I can't remember.
Common Core.
I can't even remember the lyrics that I listened 15 seconds ago.
And I've actually heard parents talk about that math is now different than about it.
Really? So see, you're the same way on this movie.
If I honestly...
Well, he was jumping on me, we're fighting and wrestling and trying to watch a movie.
Did you hear the two cuss words?
Of course not. The kid was jumping on you.
I don't remember.
But it's just very... I don't know, I just didn't like it. I found it very underwhelming. Yeah.
Speaking of superheroes, that's a good segue into Stan Lee.
Yeah. We lost Stan Lee yesterday.
95 years old. Years young.
95 years old, yeah.
Hey, what's your favorite cameo? Which one?
Oh, actually, it was the last one I saw. It was Ant-Man and the Wasp. He's standing in front of this car, and the car gets shrunk to nothing, and it just disappears in front of his face. And he's like, "Well, the '60s were fun, but I'm paying for it now." And it was I thought that was the funniest one.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That one, and I liked Venom, where he was like, "She's gonna get away."
Yeah.
Hey, young man, she's gonna get away.
Yeah.
I think my favorite was when he was with Spider-Man. He says maybe one person can make a difference. You know, it was kind of like Stan was talking about himself. He always talked about how just drawing comic books, he didn't feel like he was making a big contribution to the world. But then later on, he realized
he was entertaining
people is.
He would never have known then what Marvel would have, and Disney would have picked up
the Marvel Universe till he was 40.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Because that was 1962.
Here's what's cool about Stan Lee that I just watched a movie inside of the last 2 weeks. It was Teen Titans Go, which is based on some DC characters, but he had a cameo in that. Where he's like, oh, was going to say something kind of wry and funny like he does in all everybody's Marvel movies. And then he realizes he's in the wrong universe, and he's like, "Get me the heck out of here!" And that was the last. Probably the last thing he was He was in, I would assume.
Yeah, I know they
pretty recent.
About the time of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, they filmed about 6 or 7 in like 2 or 3 days. Because obviously he was probably 93 then and not in great health. His wife died a few years ago. Honestly, I'm surprised he lived as long as he did because they were married 68 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
and most people, my grandparents died within a year of each other.
Yeah,
but I mean, World War II veteran, comic book artist, and writer till he was 40, then changed everything about comic books, because when you think about it, like Spider-Man and those other Marvel characters, completely different than DC characters. Like DC characters are all like businessmen and billionaires and stuff, and Spider-Man had to find a job and all this stuff, and then have a car, and they were just, the way he wrote them was completely different.
Yeah.
Ironically, I saw a photo of Stan Lee last night standing there with the actor who plays Aquaman. I'm like, he's with Aquaman. That's DC. What's he doing? I prefer the Submariner over Aquaman.
Right. I saw what you tweeted today. I saw that. That was great.
That was a great drawing.
The artist. It was. Did anybody see that? Somebody, a newspaper artist.
At the funeral?
Did a picture. No, he's up in the sky.
He's in
heaven, and he's got his briefcase and his. He's got his briefcase that says Marvel, and then you've got
a big button that says "My name is Stan Lee."
Yeah, and the voice is coming out of the sky, going, "You're what he say?"
He says, "You know what, kids? You're pretty good at creating universes too." And it's like him going into heaven. And I've seen a bunch of posts about it.
That was the best.
But that was the best.
I agree with you. That was the best one.
Yeah.
So R.I.P. Stan.
Exactly.
I have tons of the comic books, and your influence on the world will carry on for...
Right. When you think about it, he's probably the most influential writer of the last half of the 20th century.
Oh, yeah.
Because the way people say, like Shakespeare now, people, like somebody's a real handsome guy, they call him a Romeo. Like, he's the only writer now that's referenced like that. Like, I mean,
he's a Stan Lee.
Exactly. Four of the top 10 grossing movies of all time were based on characters he created.
That's pretty impressive.
It really is. But I got one more movie to talk about, and not necessarily just the movie. It was
I got a couple of movies.
Okay, but I went and saw Overlord this past Thursday.
Oh,
and I enjoyed it. Not a great movie, but it was a good movie. Yeah, and I give it 3 out of 5 stars. Pretty serviceable movie. But before I went and saw it, I saw this review from The Guardian, and this film reviewer, it basically it was a review that was so terrible it made me want to go see the movie. And gave it a 1-star review, and in it.
That'll make you go see a movie every time.
Well, it's just
not every time.
Not every time, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. But basically, it's a group of soldiers the day before D-Day. There's a radio station, a German radio station, in this small village in France, and they have to knock it out. So the planes, basically, it'll knock out all the radar and radio signals on the German side. Mm-hmm. So Kurt Russell's son Wyatt's in it. The young man who played Denzel's son in Fences is the main character.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And
that's right. I didn't mention Denzel's son is also in The Old Man with the Gun.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
But anyway, they jump in, parachute into this village. We're outside it, a bunch of... The opening scene where it's basically the camera's attached to the guy. And it's all CGI, but it's while he's parachuting. And it's basically, as he moves, the camera moves. And if it was in 3D, people would probably get sick, but it looked amazing. And a lot of them die. A couple of them, their necks break when the parachute opens and stuff like that. And they make it to the village. They see the German officers keep taking... The radio tower is on top of this old church. And the German officers keep kidnapping people and taking them inside. And one of the soldiers makes his way in, and basically it goes from a war movie to a horror movie at that point, and they're experimenting on these people, and there's this substance that comes out of the earth, this sort of red tar type stuff, and they basically turn some of the German French people into filters and run it through their mouths, and when it excretes out of them, it's purified, and they start injecting it into dead people, and they're coming to life and mutating and all this stuff. And
wow,
that's
fun.
There's one scene that has a hot French girl with a flamethrower. I mean, that alone made me want to go see it. But anyway, like I said, it's an okay movie.
And you do not give it 1 star, huh?
I'm not, and I do not. Anyway, so this slimy asshole, Peter Bradshaw, during his review.
Oh, he's going Bradshaw.
The reviewer is a slimy asshole?
He's calling him out, Peter Bradshaw.
Yeah. He says,
"At neon sign."
He says, this gruesome film has arrived like some playable, nasty version of Call of Duty, destined to be played for days at a time by a regrettable and clearly unrepresentable gaming subset of pale, dead-eyed loners. In this bizarre and weirdly humorous and explicit action horror fantasy. And then he goes on to say that Australian filmmaker Julius Avery, all working from concept from producer J.J. Abrams. The idea is to make some money from a customer base which loosely described as incels and incel fellow travelers. If you don't know incels, there was a shooting last week in a yoga studio in Florida or California, I can't remember. And that guy claimed to be an incel. There was a guy who, a couple months ago in Toronto, drove a bus or a truck into a crowd of women. And incels are basically they're virgins or guys who just can't get laid, and they hate women so much they want to carry out violence against them. And those guys are totally real. I've probably met some. We all probably have. And it's one of those things that has sort of metastasized in the internet, and these guys have come together. And I'm just like, those guys are fucking douchebags, and they should all probably die.
The incels.
Yes, but that having said, everybody who likes this type of movie isn't an incel, or an incel fellow traveler, whatever the fuck that means.
Is that what they call themselves? Or
Yeah.
is that something?
No, that's involuntary celibate is what it means. Yeah, that's what they call themselves.
They can't get laid.
They can't get laid. Yeah, exactly.
Everybody can get laid, can't they?
Apparently not. Because these
Here's
guys,
some real fucking winners here, buddy.
exactly. But I mean, just to go out and say that basically, if you like this movie, you're a potential mass shooter or something if this guy has a journalism degree, that college should fucking rescind it, and he should probably be fired from the Guardian. And to be honest, from the look of him, it doesn't look like he's been laid in a minute. Yeah. Because he looked like Steve Buscemi if he lived above a meth lab.
So you disagree with his review?
I disagree with him. Now in the
Damn.
anyway,
The neon sign. Slime.
I read that. What's his last sentence? Like his last couple of sentences in that review are asinine.
let me see here. This is the last paragraph.
Yeah.
If there's something deeply crass about the factitious nonsense of everything involved in the film that might reflect the Nazi medical experiments during the Second World War that did in fact happen under circumstances other than these. It's a very real thing, not just a death metal horror movie gag. Overlord leaves a nasty taste in the mouth. Well, that's true. Like Joseph Mengele and other people did experiment on other people.
They did nasty things.
They did nasty things. And it's not like, there's nothing. I've heard a lot of people read other reviews that describe the movie as very right wing, and I find that very weird because it's a black guy, a Jewish guy, an Italian guy from New York, and a white dude, and a French girl versus the Nazis. Which to me is way more diverse than any World War II movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agreed with that.
The Dirty Dozen had one black guy in it. Granted, it was Jim Brown.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just like I think film critics, their job isn't necessarily to tell you whether they think the movie's bad. They tell you whether or not you might enjoy the movie, And this guy's just like, this is not a review. He's just shitting on the movie. Like, I actually respect film critics who are like, it's not my thing, but here's what happens in it. If you like that kind of thing, you might enjoy it. Now, film criticism is, if you want to write like a 10-page essay on Citizen Kane, that's a different thing altogether. I'm talking about just newspaper style journalism.
Fodder.
Yeah, it's just
Citizen Kane this Sunday, downtown Hickory.
And I don't know, this guy just sucks. But in the Guardian's defense, a young lady named, give me 1 second. get back to my notes. Samira Haynes, a young lady, she wrote another review. She wrote a 2-star review, and it was practically glowing. She was like, it's super fast-paced, it's super violent. It has a woman who's just a head and a spinal column who's talking. You know, she's like, if you like that kind of thing, you might like this movie. And her review is a paragraph. And 2 stars, obviously she didn't love it, but
she didn't crap on it.
Exactly. And she just gave you what it was about and, you know, the tone of the movie.
Yeah.
And this guy, I don't know, he just sucks. You know, I hope everything. If this guy has a dog, no, I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say something really mean, but I'm not gonna do that. But anyway, yeah, those are the 3 new movies I saw this week.
Great.
Yeah.
You see anything?
I knew we were gonna delve into some violence this week's show, so I looked up some most violent movies. You know, I probably looked at 10 different lists of people's top 10s, top 15s, what have you. You know, I recognized a lot of them I didn't recognize. And one that was pretty much on just about every top 15 that I saw was a Japanese movie by the name of Battle Royale.
Oh yeah, it's in the box.
It's a 2000 movie. It's a Kenji
Fukasaku.
I think it was not his last movie, but one of his last.
It was his last movie.
He did Tor and a multitude of other movies, but that's one that I saw and I was like, people might know that name. You know, a cool idea.
Yeah,
you know, it's about. It's
Which
almost,
cut did you watch? Okay, never mind. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If you have to ask, it's whatever's on Netflix. I'm not. I think it might be like a. I don't know. But anyway, it's basically these. The economy in Japan has fallen, and the kids, the teenagers, and even younger, they're just disrespectful. They don't do anything. A lot of people quit school, and they decide every year to have this battle royale where they take a whole class of kids and they take them to this island and make them fight to the death, and the last one standing wins the battle royale.
Yeah.
And the concept of it I thought was cool. You know, it's a little bit Mockingjay before, what is it?
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Similar kind of theme though, but I just didn't think it was really all that gory.
It's not that violent.
I expected more. Seeing it on all these lists.
Those are lists written by normies. I mean,
yeah, it's just.
I think what scene disturbs me is the dinner scene where they all poison each other,
right?
And that just shows you how quick people turn on each other.
Oh yeah,
the best way. It's like a realistic Hunger Games, like emotionally realistic.
Right. There were some cool parts to it, you know, but all in all, man.
He started directing part 2, and he was actually dying of cancer when he shot the movie. And his son ended up directing part 2, and it's not very good. And he was like 70 years old. But that's the thing, it does not seem like a 70-year-old guy directed that movie.
No.
It seems like something like a 20-year-old would direct as like a first movie, which I think is kind of weird. He was like huge in Japan in the 70s.
Right.
He directed like what is considered like the Godfather equivalent of Yakuza movies. The theme from Kill Bill, that's the theme to the Battles Without Honor Humanity, which is like his big opus, you know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disrupt what you were saying.
It's all good. It was, like I say, man, you know, I was actually a little disappointed. I wanted to see something crazy. I knew we were going to be delving into some violent movies, and I wanted to watch something that I had actually started it at some point some time ago, and I got about 15 minutes in, and just for whatever reason, I wasn't in the mood to watch it.
Yeah.
So I finished it, and it was just,
it's
It's a different rating system. He would give it meh stars.
Yeah, you get the meh.
Yeah, just not what I was expecting to be in multiple people's.
See, I hate lists like that because it's always bullshit.
Well, I just wanted to see.
Oh, I understand what you mean. But
I was looking for something that was in just about everybody's, and this was a movie that was basically in every list that I saw.
And people ask me, "What's the scariest movie you've ever seen?"
I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you. I know. The latest one I saw that I liked. Exactly. Is probably the answer every time.
I checked out a couple of those movies on those lists too. I did a lot of research, but mine kind of go into today's midnight drive-in. So let's just get into it. You want to introduce the film?
Are you not going to do it? Okay.
We're
doing a movie from 1982 called Vice Squad, directed by Gary Sherman. Starring Wings Hauser and Susan Hubley.
Wings Hauser also wrote or sang the opening and closing song that we've been mocking since we got
Neon slime!
Yeah, that right there. Okay, so I'm going to go last because my review's probably going to kind of tie into some of the other stuff we were going to talk about. So go ahead, Mark, you start us.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I think the movie holds up well. It's well acted. I think.
For a movie of this caliber, it's really well acted.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed the movie.
One thing there's probably a lot you can say bad about the movie, but Wings Hauser, Susan Hubley, they are fucking in it.
Yeah.
Especially her at the end. She is acting her ass off.
Yeah, people might remember Susan Hubley was married to Kurt Russell, and she had done a movie with him in the 70s about Elvis. He did the first Elvis movie where he played Elvis, and that's where they met. And
Directed by John Carpenter.
Yeah. Was it John Carpenter?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
What?
The Elvis TV movie.
It was shortly after Elvis
He got
died.
that job
they made
because he
this
wrote
movie.
the music for Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, this guy knows about music, hire him.
Yeah.
Which is like literally, that's how business men think.
But this movie, I don't know if this movie was low budget because they didn't have any recognizable tunes in the background or anything.
I mean, that's the weird thing is about now compared to then is it was made by a studio, made by Avco Embassy.
Yeah,
They produced like The Fog, and they were basically was awesome thing about the early. They were low budget movie studios, that put out movies every week. Which now, like these movies are all funded by like dentists and people's friends,
Yep.
Which that would have been an awesome way to make movies. Just have like a 3-picture deal with some little movie studio.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now it's done by hedge funds.
Exactly,
and they're redone, and they're redone, and they're redone, and they're just redone because that's all the hedge fund money will give out for.
But this movie is about like the pimp from hell. Mm-hmm. I mean, they claimed that a lot of these, that it was taken from true stories of the Vice Squad.
He interviewed a lot of cops and prostitutes.
Yeah,
and just
especially the one scene where the guy is in the coffin and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like you could not make that up.
Yeah.
That had to be based on a real story.
Oh, yeah.
You have to see the movie to know what I'm talking about. That's a bizarre scene.
The thing I love about movies like this is it all takes place in one night, and it tells you about a subculture of America that you would just otherwise never learn about. Yeah, it's really. The only other thing I can think about this would be the Hughes Brothers documentary American Pimp, which is great. It's funny. It's sad. It's very informative. You'll feel great and terrible. And, it's if you ever want to learn more about it, that's a good way to go. The American Pimp's a great documentary.
Doug, what'd you think about it?
I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't know what to expect out of this movie that's not in print, or that you can't find copies anywhere of. I didn't know if it was going to be ultra violent or ultra goofy, or what the reasoning kind of behind it. But honestly, it looked fine. I thought that the direction of it was fine for what it was. The pimp was amazing. Ramrod was amazing.
I would put him probably in my top 20 movie villains of all time.
Well, I mean, when I'm reading the back and it's like pimp named Ramrod, the last thing I thought was going to be a white dude with a mullet and a cowboy shirt, doing his thing. But that's who he was, and he kind of owned that whole scene. There were other more traditional looking pimps, but nobody was pimpier than Ramrod. He kind of owned that, and I mean, it is what it is. It was an 82, whatever movie. I've seen a bunch of movies like that I'll still watch today. So I wasn't out of my element watching. I wasn't uncomfortable or anything. And
the pimp stick, do you think that was a real thing?
The pimp stick, I believe that
is unfortunately a real
nasty thing.
Yeah.
You want to explain the pimp stick?
The pimp stick is if a prostitute goes, they kept referring to Princess Susan Hubley as an outlaw. And that's a prostitute that doesn't have a pimp. And if a guy who is a pimp and he has a stable of prostitutes and one's going to go outlaw or switch to a different pimp, the way they dissuade that is they take a wire coat hanger and turn it into, they basically snap it into several pieces and then assemble it into what looks like a stick. It almost looks like a bully club made of wire. And then they beat them with it and insert it into their vagina and squeeze it, and all the metal prongs that are held together branch outward, and then they rip it out and destroy the inside of the woman's vagina. Basically stopping them from making a living. Yeah. And it is, like Mark asked, it is unfortunately very real and completely disgusting. And somewhat Doug was talking about him being like the pimpiest pimp. That's something Gary Sherman talks about on the DVD is guys who come from very poor neighborhoods that become pimps, it's just a way to make money. It's just they're not... they don't love it. It's just, they come from the projects and that's a way they can make a lot of money. Guys who come from like middle class or higher working class families that become pimps, he said it's just because they like hurting women. And he said most white pimps he encountered when he was becoming this were just fucking psychos. And that's where the character Ramrod comes from.
What category would you put the guy that got his gonads cut off in?
They kept referring to him as a sugar pimp, which is a guy who can't control. He's too sweet. He can't control the stable women. And that was a rerun from Good Times. Or
Was
Good
that
Times,
really?
Not Good Times.
What's happening?
What's
Rerun.
I didn't know that was
It was rerun.
I didn't recognize that.
And
Come on, Raj.
Rerun.
Oh, wow, yeah.
that's what he gets for bootlegging that Doobie Brothers concert.
What's happening?
I think it's for compared to most early 80s exploitation movies, it's far and away superior.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch a lot of movies like The Executioner, early Abel Ferrara movies. The acting is nowhere near this good.
Oh, no, I agree. I 100% agree. It's a rough one for me, and I have had to kind of separate it. So I'm gonna tell you that I started my week when knowing what we were gonna get ourselves into this week. I started my week, and yesterday I felt like I had been roofied, raped.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what that feels like. So this is just one of those
Garrick,
things.
you
where-
don't.
You felt like you'd been taken advantage of.
Yes, I woke up and I felt icky after a couple of the films that I watched earlier in the week. So then I come into this, and I was pretty sure after the films that I saw that this was really not going to, there was going to be nothing.
Yeah.
And this one gave me the reach around and talked to me for a little while before, and I feel a little bit better.
Yeah. That should be the quote on the box.
It was, yeah.
This movie will give you the reach
good.
around.
It's going to give you the reach around.
It was, for 82, like you said, it holds up.
Yeah.
However,
Very slickly directed.
very slickly directed. I liked it, and I could imagine it in that time being like, whoa. You know what I mean? People going, man, that's a hard-hitting movie.
Yeah.
However,
You would drink
when
Seasoned
you
Hubley's
stand it
bathwater.
next to
Right.
when you stand it next to a film called Irreversible,
Right.
Gabriel.
Gaspar Noir?
Gaspar
Noir? I don't know how
yes,
to say his name. He's a fucking
it's-
scumbag.
That's exactly. It's funny when I text Lee and said I just watched Irreversible. He said Gaspar Noir. You were pretty sure that Gaspar Noir was the worst human.
He's a terrible person.
He's a terrible
I saw him
person.
like 6 months ago on TV. When they asked him if he'd seen Black Panther, and he's like, "Oh, I hated the R&B music in it. I hated everything about it. It was so blah blah blah." And I was like, "Dude, you're a fucking scumbag." He's so dismissive of shit, and the stuff he makes is just borderline unwatchable.
It really is, and
It would have to be if he didn't like Black Panther.
Oh wait,
I'm going to tell you, Irreversible. I have not been so uncomfortable watching a film in a very long time.
Oh, it's fucking uncomfortable.
And the way does the camera work at the beginning? You're like,
Yeah.
what's going on? All right. So this film, basically, I'll explain this film, and everybody must see this film. If you like violent films, you must see it because it's by far at one point during the movie, I had to get up and leave the room.
Yeah.
And it kept going. And I was in the other room like, okay, when's that going to stop? I can't deal with it.
Right.
So this film basically is about three friends, a couple, and one of their friends who goes out and parties one night. And the boyfriend pisses the girl off. She goes home. She gets raped. And then boyfriend and friend go after the person who raped her.
Right.
Where he failed is he did it in reverse, like Memento. He starts
It starts with the revenge.
So basically, the film starts, and I'm going to ruin the film. So here's a spoiler alert, but you still must see it just for the shock factor. They go into this place called the Rectum, which is a gay, and it's all out, balls to the wall. You've got these two guys, and they're going through this bar, and there's men sodomizing other men, sex like right there, and the camera's really like handheld, so it's moving all over, and you're just really you're almost sick. It's like Blair Witch Project. But every now and then, Vince Cassell, everybody knows who that is.
Oh yeah.
You see him, and he's asking people where the pimp was. I can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they finally get to him. They finally find him after just going through all these different, sex bins, and all these men are, yelling things, and things are happening, and you're just like, what is going on? They get in a fight with the guy. The guy breaks one of the dudes, breaks Vince Cassell's arm, like snaps it in half. And then he starts to take his pants down, and he's like, I'm going to sodomize you. And his buddy hits him with the fire extinguisher, hits the pimp with the fire extinguisher, and they leave the camera on. And they, boom, just over and over. He hits him with his fire extinguisher, and it's crazy, dude, because you could see this guy's face. He's still breathing like it's...
Some good CGI, huh?
No.
No, it's all makeup.
It's all makeup, but it was insane. So then they reverse. They start reversing the story. So midway through, you get to the fateful scene where Monica Bellucci is going. I love her.
I do. When I saw the poster of her for the second Matrix movie in that latex dress, I was like, "Who the fuck is that?"
Yes,
Bathwater person.
She looks like she's CGI.
Oh, she's definitely Well, see, I would never put her in the bathwater after this scene that I'm getting ready to explain.
She's so attractive. It's like unfair to other women.
Oh yeah, she really is.
It's like damn, bitches must
so
hate
she's
her.
in this like skimpy dress because she just left this party, and she just happens to happen by this pimp who's beating up one of these transsexual prostitute, and she didn't even do anything. She just kind of just bit the wrong place at the wrong time. Prostitute runs out, and this guy commences to rape her, and Gasper has his camera on this scene
9
for
minutes.
nine grisly minutes.
Yeah, there are no cuts.
There are no cuts. And you think it's going to end, and it keeps going. And then you think it's going to end, and it keeps going. And it was, without a doubt, I've seen some rape scenes. Like The Accused, that's very effective.
Yeah.
Nothing's like this.
Right.
There's no. I had to get up and leave, and I thought, I was like,
did you watch it by yourself?
The way she's screaming, the way it's done.
Yeah.
I just feel icky.
I'll never watch it again.
I'm like getting emotion. Yeah, I'm getting emotion just thinking about it. It's horrible, and it may be one of the most effective scenes of violence or rape that I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Like it's making me
So this is a movie we must see, huh?
Yeah,
It's
you
called
must see it.
Irreversible.
Yeah.
That's up to you. No, fuck no, I'm not watching.
Yeah.
It's that's
Let me ask you, if it was 4.5 minutes long, which is still an eternity,
Oh yeah.
would it?
No, it's
the
fucking terrible.
Okay,
It's that- I mean, it
I'll
just-
tell you what happens.
The additional 5 minutes are
I'm going
necessary?
to give you kind of a scene. You know, they with The Accused in some rapes, they do quick cuts. Like
Because the pinball machine.
remember a time to kill had the little girl at the
Right.
beginning, and they do like.
Yeah.
You know, the camera goes here, and
It gives you
everything's
the
flat.
emotion of it,
Yes,
but seeing it.
But it's doing it
Like
cuts,
like
and
in
you sound.
you see nothing in Revenge, almost.
Yeah,
Almost
it's nothing.
But you understand completely what's going on.
because of the noise.
You remember a couple
Because of the sound.
podcasts ago where I said I hate art and I hate people who think they're artists? Gasper thinks he's a fucking artist. He thinks he's the man so hard. You can tell it. He's got a shaved head, a handlebar mustache. Just a fucking... I dislike him very much. And his movies look...
But you love this movie.
I know, I do not love this movie.
Okay.
You know what's weird? I went to
I
the film
do.
school. My main teacher, he did not like violent movies. Like I would, me and him would get in arguments. Like he would say like martial arts movies aren't real movies and all this stuff and blah blah blah. And he's very constant. He had a fucking copy of Irreversible in his office, which I found so weird.
Yeah,
But anyway.
yes.
Anyway, but yeah,
And-
I don't. Yeah,
And it's the way, I think the way they set it up, it's crazy because the rapist actually has a little bit of fight.
Yeah.
And then the worst part is her. He's got her mouth covered, and
Yeah.
you can just, her screaming goes through his hand. Like,
Yeah.
it's so real. It's the realest 9 minutes
Yeah.
ever. And what's crazy is, he stops. So, I go about 4 minutes in, I went out of the room. I'm like, when's that going to end? Because I almost felt like I'm not supposed to be watching this. Like, this is not.
like when you're a kid and you like sneak away and watch like an R-rated movie.
What do you think his point was in having that
it was
scene go that
exactly,
long?
he
Just to
did-
make you
just
uncomfortable.
to get you that
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And and so then he stops, and the rapist starts talking to her, and then commences to do it some more.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. And then at the end of it, now he not only finishes that, he starts to punch her, and her legs are, and it's awful. And then what's funny is, with the movie's terrible
Is
because
it
right
is
then
the
the movie
camera
ends
handheld
and
in
it
that?
keeps reversing back to the beginning,
And they're happy at the end of the movie because it hasn't happened yet.
because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. He wasn't effective with it at all.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't effective at all.
Yeah.
Is it
The only-
handheld camera in that scene?
Oh, everything. The whole thing's handheld. And
Really?
what's funny? I guess the shock value is what happens. The last scene of the movie that she's doing something and it reveals something. And I guess maybe that's supposed to be the moment, but you're already done. After the 9-minute rape, I was done. The movie was, I don't want to see anymore.
Yeah.
It's that bad. And
So you don't think he was trying to get some kind of message
There's no
across
message.
about how terrible
His
rape
new movie is about a film class, a French dance school, dance studio, and literally, and their big graduation, which I've seen the trailer a couple times. Someone puts acid in the punch or whatever they're drinking, and literally, it's just them dancing on acid, and having sex, and it's all cut to music. Apparently,
is that called the climax? Is that
climax?
the movie?
Yes, yeah, and that's just what he just. I don't know. That's just what he's
That's
about.
all his films. I looked him up.
Yeah.
Well, there was one little touch in that rape that was actually pretty good, and that was. This is all happening in one shot, and you're down in a subway tunnel. So down at the end, there's a light. So they're in the middle of this tunnel, and you're looking at it right here, and they're laying right here. And he actually had blocked an actor. So somebody came in during the scene
And turn around.
and turn around and walk back out.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the
Well,
most effective thing ever, because that's how society is.
Right, yeah.
This person walked in and sat and listened and watched what was going on at the other end of the tunnel,
Right.
and instead of doing something about it,
Yeah.
turned around and walked out. I thought that was
Right.
That was a nice choice in
Yeah.
that moment.
That was the message he was trying to get across.
Probably.
Difference
Was
of man.
yeah, exactly.
probably.
If there's any kind of redeeming quality in what you're
And
talking
so
about.
Could have
there's
been done in 4.5 minutes,
Yeah.
right?
It's
still been just as
You get that
effective.
in Halloween when Jamie Lee Curtis bangs on the door and the guy cuts off his front porch light. That's it's the same thing.
That's
It's
right.
the
Yeah.
difference of humanity.
And then, and
And
it's funny
done
because that violence is so real. And then the other film, again, another film on that list, Ichi the Killer,
Right.
is so non-real.
Oh, it's the unrealest violence ever.
Yeah, and it does, but it's not effective.
Yeah.
For me, that violence isn't effective.
No, I don't think it's supposed to be.
You like
in the
your
way-
violence real.
Well, it has it's based on a comic book.
Yeah.
So it's he's giving you the tone of it. It is very comic book.
Oh, yeah.
And it's about a sadomasochistic superhero, I guess.
Kind of.
I don't really have a
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
He's a guy who was beat up when he was young and sexually abused a lot. And this ex-cop finds him and trains him in martial arts. And he wears this sort of black motorcycle racer outfit with a big 1 on it because he's the #1 killer. And he has big, 6-inch razor blades that retract into his boots. And he kicks a guy in half. And when he kicks it, you see him the guy's an amazing martial artist guy, plays Ichi. He goes up with his leg and just kicks, and the guy just splits in half.
Oh my god.
And at one point, it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. He goes into a room and you see nothing.
Nothing.
But this Looney Tunes amount of blood just comes flying out. Then the guy's face comes out, hits the wall, and slides down the wall. It's so it's not meant to be real.
No.
No, it's
You know,
not.
and he-
the rape is a little bit rough.
No, that's true. But there's in Japanese films, particularly Japanese gangster movies, there's a lot of rape.
Yeah.
They're way too much. It's the thing. I guess because I've read some people say it's because Japanese society's so repressed that when they go to a genre movie, it's just fucking there are no rules. And Ichi the Killer, I don't want to say it's funny.
It's 2 hours and 20 minutes of nonsense.
Yeah. It really is.
And it's it's on the list as one of the most violent films, right?
And it is as far as volume, I guess.
Well, yes, I was going to say, because you want to know what else is on there?
What?
Is one of my top films of all time, and has one of the scenes that I talk about cringing, and that is American History X.
Right.
There's one piece of violence in that when he drags that dude.
Oh yeah, to the curb.
And they he puts his teeth on that curb, and you hear those teeth scrape on that curb, and he goes, "Say good night," and they cut away.
Yeah.
Everybody is and that's it's one violent scene
right.
lasts 15 seconds, and it's more effective than all of Each of the Killer.
Right.
Well, that's a redeeming
100%.
movie, though. I mean, there's a lot. I mean,
There's no
that's
redeeming characters in Egypt.
American History X is just a
Nor is there
good
meant to be. Like Takashi Miike, he just makes. The weird thing is, I think you and I we talked about 13 Assassins.
Yeah.
Okay. He's grown into such a
it's a killer
because
movie.
he's directed 100. Let me see how many directing credits has he got. I looked at. He has 103 directing credits. He started directing in the mid 90s. Now a lot of those are music videos. About 20 of them are music videos. So I say he's directed 80 movies in the last 20 years. If you direct 80 movies in 20 years, you get really fucking good at it. And you watch something like 13 Assassins. Now there is one Mikey scene with a woman with no arms and legs.
Yeah. Still though,
but
it works.
I love it.
It's one of the better modern samurai movies I've seen in the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's really
that
good.
It's
weird.
awesome
The same
movie.
guy who did Each of the Killer in 2000
did that.
And, 10 years later. But if you do, like I said. But I actually like Takashi Miike's movies. I actually wrote down some of the ones I actually like because I knew you were going to talk about this. Audition.
I love
His
Audition.
best horror film. Dead or Alive, which is probably his craziest gangster movie. It's then he did 3 movies called the Black Society trilogy, which is sort of about a lot of his movies are about like pockets, kind of like Vice Squad, pockets of Asian culture. Like he did one, a Japanese guy who was in it's a hitman who's in Taiwan and he's trying to raise money to get back to Japan, so he has to go kill people so he can get back to his wife. And he did. They actually did a musical called The Happiness of the Kataraki, which is just, it goes from like these big Busby Berkeley like 40s dance numbers to like zombies come out of the ground and start singing. It's just completely ridiculous. Yeah, it is. This family owns an inn, and every time someone rents a room there, they die. So they have to go bury them behind the inn. And
they're singing as they bury.
I gotta watch all these movies.
And
they sing the Neon Slide.
13 Assassins, which is really good, and he did another movie. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I think it's City. It's something Lost, City of Lost People. And what it's about is Japan has a lot of Brazilian people in it, just like there's a lot of Japanese people living in Brazil. Like in the 50s or whatever, there was kind of
they traded people.
And it's about these criminals who are Brazilian, but they're also Japanese. And it's about them trying to raise money to get back to Brazil. Kind of similar to Rainy Dog. And I think he's actually, I think he makes a lot of interesting movies. A lot of them are terrible, but he never turns down a directing job. If he's not got a movie like Each of the Killer that he wants to make and someone comes up and offers him a kid's movie, so he takes it without him.
He doesn't even read the script.
He said I might learn something from that movie that I would otherwise turn down that I can do later. Like he's directed like what we would consider
He's
the
probably
Japanese.
pretty loaded too.
Oh, I'm sure he
many
is.
movies.
Yeah.
The Audition. You've never seen that, have you, Garrick?
Yeah, it's really good.
It's one that should be on the list.
It's on my list.
Yeah. But anyway,
Put that
guys,
on the list for us.
The Audition.
Okay.
There's some parts in that, Mark, that I don't know if you're going to want to actually be here for.
Yeah.
But it's a unique movie. It
is.
I really enjoyed it.
Well, as far as violence, what's effective? What's an effective violent film?
So 30 years ago, effective violence was I can remember my mom and dad going to see Platoon.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And my dad was a Vietnam veteran, and it had all this pub, and it was a movie I was dying to see. I wanted to see it so bad, and my dad took my mom, and they lasted about 15 minutes, and at that point was, I guess it was so real for him, or brought him back that they walked out. And to me, that was a massive deal, because how my dad was. He wasn't the type to walk out of anything like that. When I asked him about it, he just said there were just scenes in that movie at the beginning that he just didn't want to see. He didn't know what it was going to be.
Just wasn't ready for it.
Right.
Didn't want to revisit it.
The closest experience that I have to anything like that, where I went to see a movie and it basically it was more than I was ready for, was The Passion of the Christ.
Absolutely.
It to me is that's the most violent.
So real.
Speaking of scenes that are way too long, it's the scene not where Christ is hanging on the cross.
No.
It's
Where
the
he's
beating beforehand.
Right.
It's
It's
20
the hour.
minutes long.
But
It's an
it is
hour.
a passion play.
It's an hour and 15
about-
minutes.
I'm like, Mel, okay, we get the point. They beat the hell out of him.
But Mel is a black belt Catholic, so
And I don't know if that movie was effective to me because of the style of violence, because I've seen plenty of people get...
Right.
I've seen violent movies for my entire life, or if it was because, at some point in my mind I'm thinking, well, this is somebody that I've heard about, and all this pain that this person's gone through, and I'm actually seeing it. Is that what made me feel uncomfortable? I don't fucking know. I just know that in the middle of that movie, there was a time where I thought, man, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
When you see his rib.
Yeah, when they
rip
rip
it,
it's like the cat o' nine tails just,
oh my god,
it just keeps going and going, and when you want it to stop, they just keep
I was
pouring it
with
on.
Scott Wheeler and Stephanie Wheeler, and we had some drinks, and I remember at some point during that, I actually jumped in my seat and was like, "Please stop hitting him!" Like I was like I was screaming at the screen to please stop.
Yeah.
I can't watch this anymore.
Yeah.
I was squirming in the chair. I'm like, can we get on with the movie? I know he's going to hang on the
I've seen plenty of movies since then that have made me uncomfortable, or they've had a scene here or there, but no other movie that I have ever seen the violence affect me in the way that
I would agree
the
with
violence affected me during that. That was just off the chart.
To me, it's like Garrick said, that was the only time. Like I've seen movies about torture and stuff, but that I would agree with that, and irreversible, rape, sexual violence.
The Accused did it so well.
That was a Netflix documentary called The Gift Givers.
You ever seen Straw Dogs?
Yes, that's a terrible scene. Oh,
That's another just God Almighty.
The dragon tattoo. That's a terrible scene. That rape scene is terrible.
Netflix documentary. I think it was The Gift Givers, about that murder of that nun in the '60s and how she was going to expose the rape.
Right.
When those girls were explaining what those priests did to them, I would let it I had to pause it. I would sit there. I probably got it took me a week to watch the first 3 episodes of that. And that was just them explaining it. It was just
how far do you want to get into it?
So uncomfortable. Like I said, people getting their heads cut off with swords, blown up, shot. I know it's corn syrup and red food dye. Yeah. It doesn't affect me.
When you talk about rape scenes, the one that sticks out in my mind the most will always be Casualties of War. And Sean Penn.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
And Michael J. Fox witnessing it, but Sean Penn in that scene.
The thing that stuck out for me in that movie is when they go back and find her body and it's blue. Like when I was a kid, I didn't really understand the whole blood settling in the body. I was like, why is it fucking blue? And it's just that image in my mind, every time I think of that, that's what I think of, is that poor Vietnamese girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an uncomfortable movie.
It is.
That's like you said with Spotlight, how you love that movie, but it's just the
the guy explaining
the
how
detail of
the
stuff like that.
The priest groomed him and stuff, and brought him to his house and played him guitar and all this, showed him a dirty magazine, and just fuck that. That is.
That's beyond evil. It's not like a scary character. It's real.
No, that's what
makes it
people
so
talk about.
frightening.
And maybe that's why the passion. And maybe that's maybe there's you see
he's not.
I went to church for 18 years of my life and heard about this person and all the shit that he took, and then to actually see it. That's why I'm saying I don't know if it was the actual violence or just
I think it's a
combining the two that made me just super uncomfortable. I have watched. I did watch that movie at the theater and then waited probably 2 years before I tried to watch it again, and I did watch it again.
I've never seen the same.
And fully appreciated it as a movie. And I thought, you know what, man, this is I know people have a lot of issues with it, but it's a really
well-made movie.
Gibson is
really is.
a son of a bitch, no story structure. I mean, he's an
really does, and he knows violence like Braveheart. Some of the, some of the scenes in Braveheart,
Apocalypto is fantastic.
Oh, man, that's rude. It's rude.
Yeah. Well, but it's necessary. It puts you in that time, with Braveheart, the battles and how gruesome and up close that they were. That's how they were, and he captures it.
I was thinking about this because I knew we were going to talk about this, and I remember this brought something to my mind. It's from the Criterion. It's an interview on the Criterion another out of print movie, RoboCop DVD.
Yes.
And Paul Verhoeven talks about it. He said when he first came to America, started like RoboCop, Total Recall, people would say, "Oh, your movie, the violence is so realistic." And he was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" He said, "Blood shoots out both ways." He said, "Blood just buckets of it comes out." He said, when he was a kid and the Nazis took over Amsterdam, the commandant who was over his neighborhood was just a son of a bitch on the curfew, like 10 p.m. in your house. And he said this little old lady who lived like 2 doors down from him, she got home, she was like visiting her son or something. and got home at like 10:05. And the next morning, the commandant, the SS officer, brought everybody out in the street, and they shot the woman in the head, and then leaned her body up against her front door. It was like 10 o'clock. And he said it made a tiny little pinhole in the front where the bullet goes in. There's no blood, and there's a little bit of blood that comes out of the back.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's why his movies are so fucking.
And that's
uber
right.
violent.
In RoboCop, that's right. He
They
takes
just-
the bullet. And
yeah.
it almost looks like.
When Murphy gets shot,
Yeah,
but
like
when everybody
this.
else gets shot, like when Ed, the guy explodes,
Right.
And he's like, I'm trying to make a fucking comic book. He's like, I'm not making the news. You know, people were like, oh, it's so when the guy gets killed by RoboCop, it's so realistic. He's like, you an idiot? Yeah. Now when Murphy gets killed, he did want it. The Paul Roman, that's Jesus. And like RoboCop, that's his version of Jesus. He's like, he dies, he comes back, and he saves everyone.
Yeah.
Like in Paul Roman's mind, that's what that movie is about.
And that's a good movie, and
Yeah.
it's actually on some lists for most violent.
It is violent, but it's so goofy. Like if you watch it now, it's a comedy.
Yeah.
Like the news commercials where it's like Battleship, but it's nuclear war, and
Yeah.
when you win, the game explodes.
That's
like, how do
great.
people take
Wasn't
this
he the
serious?
same guy that did Starship Troopers?
Starship Troopers,
Yeah, so all his
Exactly.
films are like that.
Yeah,
And didn't he do?
Showgirls.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm saying. People talk about like he said he was always considered like a realistic director. He's like, that's the stupidest thing ever. He's like, my movies are like, yeah, he directed Showgirls, the least realistic drama ever. It's like,
they're one of the worst films ever made. Ever made.
yeah.
But and then there's but then Scorsese also does it really well.
Yeah.
Now, and it's a little bit of both, but I mean, when
Yeah.
they beat up Billy Bats,
Oh yeah, it's so uncomfortable.
it is so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And
Or when the guy gets his head in the vice in Casino.
Oh, yeah.
And the eye pops out.
when
And we talked about Whitey Bulger, who just
Yeah.
passed, that
Yeah.
in The Departed.
Yeah, based on him, yeah,
Some
or
of the
inspired by him.
violence
Oh, yeah.
in that one, yeah.
Yeah.
well, and Nikki, when Nikki and Dominic,
That's so
Tom
uncomfortable. They
Tom,
bury him alive.
Yeah, they
Oh,
they're beating
my
him
brothers
with the bats.
breathe.
We were there. Didn't we see
watched
it?
that.
Oh, no.
I mean,
God.
it's not much, but
Yeah.
and there's edits, but it's enough that's
Yeah.
just.
That's what I'm saying. Like when you see his brother's chest moving up and down, and they're throwing dirt on him. You know,
Yeah.
that to me, that's more horrifying than the beating.
Or the guy that cheated, that was so simple. They put his hand down and
Yeah.
started hammering his
Yeah.
hand, and
The
it's
book,
just
if you
like,
remember-
Mark's over here like.
If you ever get a chance to read the book
Casino,
Casino, it's amazing. It's just a bunch of it's not really a book. It's just a bunch of short stories about
Right.
things that happen. But it's really super cool. It really is.
I have to check that out because I thought about that. I actually have that book, and I just haven't ever.
That and Wise Guy, the book.
See,
Goodfellas is based on
The
that
difference
book.
between Scorsese and some of these other directors is it's the genre of movie that he makes. He makes movies about gangsters. There's going to be some fucking violence in it.
Oh, absolutely.
He makes a movie about a psychopath, and it's Taxi Driver, which for 80% of the movie, 85% of the movie it's just him and how crazy he is. The violence doesn't. There's really no violence until the very end.
He made a movie about Jesus, but his beating scene was nowhere near what Mel Gibson's was.
Right, exactly. Pretty much, yeah. So I mean, I think some of these guys utilize the violence to get people to watch their movies.
Yeah.
Martin doesn't have to do that. His movies have some violence in them because of the genre and the stories
But
he
that's not why
tells.
you watch 'em.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, like Goodfellas is a masterpiece.
It's just
but
a
I never
fucking
watch
perfect
it. I
movie.
watch the Billy Bat scene. It's always
It happens, and I'm like, here we go, and then
Yeah.
it's over, and it's on.
Yeah, like when the
Yeah,
cylinder
right,
comes out of the
says,
gun.
Go get your
Go
shine
get your-
box. You know it's coming.
Oh
Here
yeah,
it comes.
I'll go get your fucking shine box.
Yeah.
And then the comedy of it when they're eating with Tommy's
Oh,
mom
yeah.
and they're looking at that picture.
like
and
somebody,
they're
you know?
Looks like, yeah, so it looks like somebody. we
He's
know.
beating around in the trunk.
One
at the
dog going
moment.
this way, one dog going that way. What do you want from me?
Yeah, and then the camera moves
You
out
can
the
get a
trunk.
shirt with that painting on it that says that underneath it.
Oh, that would be great.
That's great.
Yeah.
So there you go. We've all been beat in the face this week with violence. And our film this week was Vice Squad, and it was very well done. And
That's it's almost compared to something like in Reversal. This is almost a drama.
oh yeah,
And I will say one of the best things about Vice Squad is, with the exception of Ramrod, who's obviously a psychopath, the cops and the prostitute, the movie never judges them. It's never like, oh, look, this woman, she's a terrible mother. The movie just kind of gives it to you how it is,
right.
Which, I mean, like, so Ramrod's obviously the villain, and he is terrible.
Yeah.
And an amazing, like, William Stiles is great in the movie. He really is.
Yep.
So if you want Vice Squad, it's $200 on Amazon. Is that what
And
you said?
That's correct.
It's been out of print for like 16 years. Yeah.
Yep, it's been out of
I
print.
don't know if that's the director, if he owns it, or maybe, I don't know, because there's so many movies that get like 3-disc, like obscure horror movies. They get like 3-disc Blu-rays now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck was on that movie? You know,
You
it's
get
like-
the digital, the
Yeah.
DVD,
Yeah.
you get everything.
It's got tons, like, why isn't there like at least a 1-disc Blu-ray of Vice Squad?
Oh, you can get it on Amazon, but it's about $200.
Yeah.
We got
Still
lucky
get
in
that.
store.
I mean, there wasn't anything.
It's because it's out of print.
I mean, it was
people-
fine. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
it's because
whatever.
it's out of print.
It's any movie that goes out of print. Like, I guarantee today, like if you went yesterday morning, you could buy an autographed comic that was signed by Stan Lee for $20.
Yeah.
They're $200 now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just because
yeah.
people are fucking savages.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
before we start talking about Vice Squad, I put up a picture of it yesterday, see if anyone on our Facebook page could guess it. And Dean Amanda, I'm sorry if I'm going to massacre your
It's
name.
Dean and Amanda.
Dean
I
and
think
Amanda.
it's a married couple.
Yeah, it's a couple. If this is their favorite movie, that's awesome. Dean and Amanda Marbury from Armstrong, Illinois, guessed it. I put it up like 20 minutes later. He's like, that's Vice Squad. And,
You want to hear something funny? Is
Yeah.
the person before that said Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Okay, so the guy on the Instagram, a completely different guy,
Yeah.
said Evil Dead. So
Yeah.
I guess Winghauser kind of in that shot.
Yeah.
Maybe people were mistaking him for Bruce Campbell.
right.
But
Who won your bathwater challenge on Facebook?
Dude, you know, I didn't want to talk about that because that would blow up in my face. I was absolutely sure that Sharon Stone was going to go
Right.
down, and
I would think so.
I would think so too. But after the popular vote, Margot won it.
Yeah.
She was a gold digger. I mean, they're both great performances,
Yeah, they are.
and I agree with you that Sharon Stone did it better, but Margot's hotter. So in the popular vote,
Yeah.
I don't
in the
know.
It's
popular-
close, man. At the
Close.
time, and it's close.
That's not
It's-
close for me. It's Margot. As
But
far as
also,
this is-
It's
the
Sharon
difference is
Stone.
Wolf of Wall Street was 4 years ago, and
Yeah.
Casino was 10.
No, it was 96.
It was 20.
20.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It feels like 5, but
I don't know. People say 10 years ago. I think
Yeah.
they're talking about 1996. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not
So there you go. Margot Robbie has won the bathwater. Well, which will bring me to our new challenge for this week. Talking about violence, we're going to do two. One fairly classic against a pretty new movie. We're going to do. My bathwater showdown this week will be Charlize Theron's Lorraine Broughton from Atomic Blonde, the assassin from Atomic Blonde, Charlize Theron,
Yep.
versus The Bride,
Right.
Uma Thurman,
Yeah. I
in the
rewatched
Kill
Atomic
Bill
Blonde last night.
series. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Our bathwater showdown this week will be Charlize Theron in Atomic Blonde versus Uma Thurman, The Bride, in the Kill Bill series.
What do you say, Garrick?
Oh, I don't want to say because
nobody cares, or nobody gives a fuck about your opinion.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah.
I would say that. Well,
Did you like both those?
I
Do you
love
like
it.
both those movies?
I liked both of them. Yes.
Did you? Okay.
Why you didn't like Atomic Blonde?
I really didn't like Kill Bill.
Really?
Totally. No. Not as much as I maybe have in my mind, but I don't ever watch it.
Yeah. I watch it about once a year.
Part 1 is kick ass.
yeah.
But part 2 is shit.
I
mean,
love part 2.
Yeah. I
well,
remember
some
you
people
saying
do,
that.
some
Yeah.
people don't. Just
Yeah.
to me, it's just a big.
I didn't really
no.
like Atomic Blonde.
I didn't
Well,
either.
you know what? Listen, I don't care about the freaking movies.
Yeah.
So who's
We're talking
better
about
at?
who's hotter
Yeah.
and who does it better.
I
And
thought
I would say Uma Thurman.
Uma definitely does it better.
Yeah.
Alan Quartermain. Sharon Stone was in the Alan Quartermain movies with Richard Chamberlain.
Oh, yeah.
She would win the bathwater challenge for you
Nobody
every
even
time.
knows what that movie is.
That's
There were
when
two of
I
them.
put it down on your
Alan
list.
Quartermain, The Lost
We need
City of
to,
Gold.
1980s movies.
Terrible Indiana Jones ripoff.
We need, exactly. You need to put that on your list. What,
Okay.
Alan Quartermain.
Well, Sharon Stone just lost. in her best role
Her best
ever.
role, she will never be.
She will never do anything better.
Yeah, I used to have this.
Basic Instinct. Maybe we do her with Basic
Alan
Instinct.
What about
Quartermain.
Kathleen Turner in
Does that have Louis
Romancing the
Gossett
Stone?
Jr. in it?
No, that's Firewalker with Chuck Norris. All those movies were made by Canon
I was
Pictures.
thinking. Okay. All
They're
right.
all
right.
basically the same. That was Canon Pictures was trying to replicate Raiders of the Lost Ark.
And I'd watch all of them.
Oh, I've seen all those. I've seen. And I love the Alan Quartermain movies when I was a kid. I watched about 5 minutes of it a couple of years ago. I was like, oh my god, they shot in the parking lot?
Do they not hold up very well?
They do not.
That was the last time I
Oh.
saw them was in the 80s. Yeah.
But
But you loved him back in the day.
oh, I love to make it.
yeah, I loved them.
But Actually, years ago, I think it was the 25th anniversary of Fangoria, that is an interview with George Romero. And he was supposed to make the Brendan Fraser Mummy movie in the 90s, but it was going to be a horror movie. He was finally going to get to make a big budget. And this movie he'd been trying to make for like 20 years called Just Before Dawn, or I can't remember what it was called. But it was like a drama. George Romero finally wanted to make a drama, and he was going to have a mom and daughter part in it. And the daughter was going to get Gwyneth Paltrow signed up. And he said, if I can get Sharon Stone, I can get this movie made. And he sent her the script. He'd already passed on The Mummy at this point because he thought it was such a lock. Because apparently it was a really good script. And she fucking just turned him down. And he called Scorsese. He's like, Marty, could you fucking talk to her about this? And he said, apparently, according to Romero, Scorsese's quote was, let me do you a fucking favor. Just say no. So apparently she was a handful back in the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm not shocked.
I'm not shocked at all either.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked at all either.
I still love her
there you
Basic
go.
Instinct.
Well,
she's great.
That's something that
Drink the
I'll watch
bathwater.
from time to time.
She lost the
and the
bathwater
casino,
challenge,
for sure.
and the public drank Margot Robbie. So this week,
It's a win-win. I
Can't
think.
blame 'em.
yeah, it's definitely a
fucking
win-win.
win-win for
This
sure.
week we've got Charlize. Charlize is an assassin, and Kill Bill as a revengeful assassin. Uma Thurman, and my vote will always be Uma Thurman because I love
Charlize
Uma
Thurman.
Whatever.
Charlize Theron.
Whatever. So anyway, so
Charlize
now that we got
Theron.
the battle.
Hey,
both.
you can morph
That
it.
sounds pretty
Well,
good.
they're two 6-foot blondes.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's my bathwater. You got us a movie to rent?
I do, and I was thinking about it. There's a lot, I guess the point of this show is to highlight movies that either played in drive-ins back in the day, back when drive-ins showed basically exclusively drive-in movies,
Right.
violent, horror, action, exploitation, or movies now that if drive-in still had that format, they still would. And there's a
Straight
new
to
movie-
DVD.
Yeah. It's a comedy called The Death of Stalin. And it's got an all-star cast. Steve Buscemi's in it, and it's about the death of Stalin. Khrushchev and all those guys. It's got Michael Palin in it, who plays General Molotov, the guy who invented the Molotov cocktail, which I was talking about earlier. And he dies, and basically it's about the 2 days up to his funeral, the power struggle of all these evil assholes who just massacred millions of people. Because what people don't realize is, like,
Stalin was worse than Hitler.
he was.
They
20
don't
million
realize
people
that.
died, 20 million Russians died in World War II.
Yeah.
And that doesn't count. Like Stalin had a cannibal island. He had an island that was completely barren that he would just leave people on, and then no food, no water, things just happened. And Khrushchev, Molotov, General Molotov, all these guys, they're vying for the seat, the Stalin seat, and it's all around his funeral. They're having to plan his funeral and try to replace him, and it's oddly funny. Like Steve Buscemi is fucking hilarious. He plays Khrushchev, obviously going into he's going to win because he ended up being the the premier of Russia, but they make him plan the funeral, and the guy who's the wedding, he looks like Hitler. He's just fucking. He's like he just keeps walking to Steve Buscemi asking him what's pillow to put in the casket. And he's like, I don't give a fuck. Just pick one. And when all the guys show up, all the other committee members, he's like, you leave me here with slim fucking Hitler picking out pillows, and you guys are out there running the country. And something really funny will happen. Then something terrible will happen, like when Stalin finally died. He slipped, had a stroke, whatever, split his head open, bled to death in the night. And he was so fucking terrifying, nobody wanted to go and check on him when they heard him fall. So when they finally announced him dead, everybody leaves, all the party members leave, doctors and stuff standing there smoking. Oh, got away with that one. Because the reason they couldn't save him was they had murdered so many doctors. They couldn't find a good doctor. They're like, what about this doctor? Oh, we had him shot. What about this doctor? Well, he was Jewish and he didn't make it. And so finally, once all the party members leave, a truck full of soldiers get up and just massacres all the doctors and nurses. So something really funny will happen. Then history will ram through the door and be like, oh, by the way, these people were terrible.
So it's true to history.
It's true and very. If you ever see the show Veep on HBO, same guy created that. Like just very just profane but funny. I mean, I really enjoyed it. The Death of Stalin.
Now, is it a new one?
Yeah, it's on Redbox. You can rent it on Redbox. It's still on Redbox.
Name of the movie again?
The Death of Stalin.
The Death of Stalin.
Yes.
I did not get to see American Animals. It was on my list,
Yeah.
but I had a busy
17 children.
weekend. Yeah. Well, I did. I worked all weekend, and I didn't get to see it, but I will check it.
I will as well. I really want to see it. I went to Bob Dylan Friday night.
How was that?
It was killer.
Awesome.
Was it?
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
I'd never gotten to see him live, man.
Did he play all his good stuff? Like, how long did he play?
No.
Like 3 hours?
No, about 2 hours. It was at Ovens Auditorium down in Charlotte. It's real
smaller place where the Checkers play.
No, they play beside of them.
They play
the
Bojangles
Arena.
Oh, yeah,
the old Independence. But
where we
did he
saw Tool.
yeah,
That's where we saw
Did he happen to sing the Neon Slime?
he did not. No, he didn't. And he sounds worse than Garrick doing Neon Slime,
Which
somehow.
is hard to imagine.
Which was fine because he's so iconic,
Right.
It doesn't matter.
that it doesn't matter.
It
It
doesn't.
didn't matter what he did. He would stand up and put his left hand on his hip and just stand there, and people fucking stood up and just went crazy.
We love you.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he could stand up from a piano and put his hand on his hip and stand there and kind of shake his,
I saw him about 20 years ago with the Black Crows, and it was really good.
Oh, I bet so.
With the you went to see the Black Crows?
I did.
They would be
Lee?
awesome.
I did.
Really?
Yeah.
I would not take you as a.
You
Black
suck, man.
Crows.
I never got to see them either.
Oh, I saw them, but yeah, that's great.
I like
didn't
the
know
Black
you were-
Crows as well.
Do you?
I do.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, look at that. Well, we
Small world.
actually do have something in common. Everybody likes the Black
I
Crows.
mean, they know Hootie and the Blowfish, which I know you love, but I mean, shit, what is?
I like the Black Crows because I'm so hard to handle now.
Whatever. You know what? That was the funniest part of last week, so I own it. And let me tell you where that came from. I'll go ahead real fast before we close out. Hootie and the Blowfish played at Dorm at like, remember all our the guys that we graduated with went to Carolina and went to NC State and Clemson, and Hootie and Dave Matthews were still small then, and they would tour and do these fraternity houses.
Yeah.
Well, Hootie and the Blowfish sang the same songs at all these fraternity houses, and it wasn't for 5 years of doing that before they got big.
Yeah.
And what was fun, like we had said, they had that much. We were talking about having so much time to do it.
Yeah.
Well, Hootie and the Blowfish were.
That was just a
singing
weird
this-
thing to hear.
It was just
a weird choice.
I just remember going. Hootie and the Blowfish were one of those people. They had one really good album that made them a whole lot of money, and they never did anything else. And the
One
reason
song,
was
really.
that's the only those songs they practiced and got right for years and years and years in the dorm rooms before they got famous. And I don't know why my brain went there, but that's what I'd say. When you have all the time in the world to work on something.
I wouldn't go see Hootie and the Blowfish and Dave Matthews Band if they were playing in my fucking front yard.
Nope. I hate them both.
Yeah.
I met Darius Rucker when he was in his transition period when he was going country. So that's what he's doing now.
That's what. Yeah.
I've seen him a couple times doing the national anthem.
What? This has been the weirdest episode.
Weirdest one, Garrick.
Garrick is holding back laughter over here for a second because he's wanting to sing the Neon Slime.
Yeah, well. Well, that's been a good show, guys.
Time will tell.
Time will
And
tell.
time and good editing. Yeah.
Hey, we got one good thing. Guess what?
What's that?
I am on, I think, 4 episodes straight of no profanity. How about that? Go back and read. I have not said one profane word.
I've said fuck at least a couple of times.
We can't say as
I'm not
much for
talking
Lee.
about you, I'm talking about me.
All right, but then you're doing it.
Yeah, apparently I swore when we were live at the theater, so and I thought I was doing great.
You were. Yeah. You were.
Next week's show will be profanity free.
Shit. My parents were a truck driver and an emergency room nurse. I'm doing great. I could be a lot worse.
Well, thanks a lot, guys, for listening in for this week. And until next week, keep watching the films.
Fade into black. The streets come alive. The big city monster just opened its eyes. The hustle, the muscle, the poor man must deal. Got what I want. Let's make a deal. Bang, bang, shoot 'em up. Talking about crime. Somebody just bought it in the neon slime.
That took forever. That was like that rape scene I had to that 10 seconds to get to neon slime felt like a 9-minute rape scene.
You've been listening to the Midnight Drive-In, brought to you by Golden Ticket Cinemas. $5 movies Monday through Friday. Ticket sales and times at gtccinemas.com. Preserve your company's legacy in HD. Contact Unique Philosophy and Roadhouse Pictures for all your marketing and video needs. Check them out at uniquephilosophy.com or call 828-485-7435. Their marketing is effective and efficient. They produce, engineer, and cut our shows, and we are grateful for them. Be sure to like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram or Twitter for all the latest news. And if you love the show, help us keep it going. Become a Patreon today. Thanks to all our sponsors for contributing to our show.